How's that? Oh, yeah. And then if you know how to advance, do you want the clicker? It's right here.
Sure. Did everyone just hear why I was late?
No,
No.
I just unmuted you, so now they know why you're late.
How's it going? How's everyone doing? I don't know how this Zoom stuff works, so there's so many people online. I'm so sad that you're not here.
Your clicker works.
It's okay. Thank you. Thanks, Nicole.
I will have it running upstairs. I have a meeting right now, but then I will be sitting at my desk, so if you need anything, let me know.
Hey, so I feel like you should come scoot closer.
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
Am I looking at that camera? You. there.
Yep, that one.
Awesome.
Yep.
How's everyone online? Everyone good? Somebody say yes.
Yeah,
Hey, Joshua.
absolutely.
Yeah. You can't see my face, so I'll turn backwards. Hey, so I'm late. I apologize. I have a 2-week-old baby at the house plus 2 other kids, 4 and 2. So I'm late everywhere. But isn't that the story of a realtor? Yeah, isn't that the story of a realtor? I mean, we're all just late.
Realtor or realtor?
Whatever, realtor. I'm the real deal. That's all I know. Because I'm here. I'm glad y'all are here. So today we are talking about buyer consultations. Who loves working with buyers? Man, I really wish I could see all of you. How do I do this, Nicole?
You
Sorry.
can see them under there.
Brian Jackson's in the house. David Caldwell, there he is. Calling y'all out. Can you hear me?
And you can make them turn there.
Yeah. Yeah, we hear you.
Beautiful.
You can make them turn their cameras on if you want.
Okay, no, it's fine. So many blank screens. It's okay. It's all good.
I'll turn it
So
up.
what are we doing?
Nothing, I just turned it up.
Okay, cool. How have your past classes been? How's things going? How's Ignite? Garrett, answer me.
I don't know if I'll be the person to answer. It's like my second one.
Second one, how was the first one you were at?
Good.
Good. Okay,
I learned a lot. I listened to the prospecting one on Zoom.
okay. Was that good? Who taught that?
Brian Fisher.
Ryan Fisher. Okay, what'd you learn there?
I think I just learned a lot about kind of how he delegates his time and how time intensive he is on things like circle prospecting and I guess just how important that is in his business.
Yeah, super important. Circle prospecting is the thing to do right now, especially if you've got any sort of listing. Call around it, 100%. What about you guys online? What are you guys doing? What have you learned so far? Not everyone at once. Whew. Okay, cool. All right, that's good. That's great. All right, let's jump in this. Let's jump in it. Let's jump in. All right, what am I doing here? Okay, what do successful agents do? We run our business, we grow a business. Hello, obviously, that's simple. Guys, I'm gonna tell you, I like to have fun. I'm gonna have fun during this class. I'm gonna spitball a lot of stuff. So we're gonna see some stuff on these slides and you're gonna go, he didn't even talk about that. And I'm sorry, I didn't talk about it. But my main role in the last, for the last 7 years, I've been a lead buyer's agent for 5 of it. Now I run our team. So a little bit of background, I work with Evan DeShong. I don't know if you guys know him. I know some of you work with, some of you on here know him. Brian knows him. David Caldwell knows him. I think Kirk's on here. Dayton, you know him. Nice to meet the rest of you guys. I'm excited. But, hey, that's what I did. I ran our buy side business for since 2015. I got really good about buyer consultations, and that's why I'm here today. Is we're going to talk about what it is, what a consultation is, why it's important to have a consultation, and the ins and outs that need to be inside of that. Okay. Let's see. So we're talking about the appointment. So we've talked about prospecting leads. We've talked about contacts and cultivating. Now we're talking about the appointment itself inside the buyer appointment. So you've cultivated the lead and now you have an A buyer. What are we doing? They said, yes, I am ready, willing, and able to buy a home. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna set an appointment. That's the next thing. We're gonna set the appointment, and inside that appointment, you're gonna get them to an office. You're gonna get them to a coffee shop. You're gonna sit down, meet with them face to face, or if you wanna do a Zoom, you can do a Zoom. Personally, I like to meet people at the office. It shows a little bit more professionalism. It shows, hey, look at this. When I first started out, I met people in the office because I wanted them to see that it's not just me, some rookie, right? I've got this big, beautiful building that you can come. I've got these nice conference rooms that we can meet at. So when I'm stumbling around my words, they know that I'm around a professional environment. I also tell people inside of that meeting, hey, listen, it's okay that I don't know something. Ooh, that's important. That's powerful. When you say I don't know, that doesn't mean you're dumb. That doesn't mean that you're naive to the world. What that means is I don't know right now, but I'm going to go find out for you. I've won a lot of business on the buy side by saying, you know what, I don't know. I'm not going to shoot from the hip. I'm not going to go off the cuff. I'm going to shoot you straight. I don't know. But dang it, I'm going to go find out and we're going to make this work. So when we get them to the office, my consultation is, anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on the conversation. Some of you go, well, I was told I was supposed to have a consultation, no shorter than 30 minutes and no longer than an hour. Absolutely. Really, it's 30 minutes. Well, I do mine differently. My consultations are very personal, right? My job as a buyer's agent in that period is going to be to get to know them, for them to get to know me, for us to talk about real estate, and then to figure out what it actually takes to hire me. So that's my process. It's a 4-step process. And literally, I'll go and I'll say, hey, tell me about you. Don't tell me about real estate. I don't want to know what you're looking for right now. I don't want to know all that stuff. I put the brakes on all of that. I say, stop. Ooh, no more. I put the brakes on it. I want to get to know them. So I'll have a conversation. It's just a person right across from you. They're saying, I'm, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and, we've been in the Springfield area for 5 years. And I said, great, fantastic. Where did you come from? And then they'll tell me about their history. They'll tell me about their backstory, their background. And inside of that, I'm going to ask very, pointed questions that are going to be things like, do you have animals? Tell me about your dog or your cat. People love their animals. And if they don't have animals, they don't love animals. And then you don't even have to worry about it. But the reason I ask for animals is what? Hey, yeah, I know. Man, I was late. I got someone looking at me in the back. Yeah, it's fine. I'm asking for animals because, hey, if they've got a dog, by golly, they're going to need a fence outside. If they've got a cat, they're going to probably want some special things on the inside for that cat. I'm taking mental notes as we were just having this conversation. I'm going to find out what they like to do after work. I'm going to find out what they like to do after or on the weekends. I want to find out all the ins and outs of who they are and what they like to do. And what that allows me to do is that allows me to really build out what they're going to be looking for. But I'll get to that part in a few minutes because again we're talking about all the things that they like. Sorry, there's fuzz. I'm also may say squirrel every once in a while, and I apologize. You'll just have to deal with that too. I'm all over the place. I'm a high I, high S. I'm a crazy man. I get it. It's fine. You're not the first person to look at me weird. It's fine. So, okay. So again, first step is going to be, I want to get to know them. I want to know everything I can about them. And I want to actually listen. By listening to them, it's incredibly important to remember what they've said and then bring it back up in step 3. Okay? Because you're getting to know them. Real estate is not a sales job. Real estate is a people job. Real estate is relationships. I want to get to know you. The more I get to know you, the more comfortable you become with me. And the more trust and rapport that I've built very quickly, right? There's a reason I ask about them before I tell them about me. I want to get to know them so that they feel comfortable. People feel comfortable in an environment when they talk about themselves, or people are curious about who they are. Okay? Questions on step one? Anybody online?
I have a quick question. Is step one only about them, not about anything they want in real estate?
Who's talking? I'm sorry.
Sorry, it's Nathan Blanton.
Yes, Nathan, thank you for the question. Yes, step
Welcome.
one is purely about them. And if they start to get into real estate, I pause them and say, hey, slow down. We'll get there. I promise. This right now, I purely want to get to know you.
Thank you.
Does that make sense to everybody? Man, this is weird on Zoom. I got one person in the class, two people in the class here, and all you guys online.
How long does that first step usually last? Is that usually like the first 10 or 15 minutes or?
Yeah. Can you guys hear that question online?
Yeah, we heard him.
Okay. So that very much depends on the personality. Are you guys familiar with DISC? Right? Are you guys familiar with it? DISC? So if it's a D personality, it'll be 10 minutes max. I mean, very cut and dry, straight to the point. And I'm going to mirror and match that on step two. If it's an I, it's going to be fluffy. Yeah, we're going to get off topic. We're going to talk about their dog and how cute they are. They're going to show me pictures. And then I'm going to show them pictures of my kids and how cute they are. We're going to, that can be a little longer. An S and a C, it may take me a little bit longer because S and C personalities, their natural tendency is to not talk about themselves. It's to not say anything. Their natural tendency is introverted, not extroverted. So I've got to pull out, I've got to start asking them questions. So that could take me, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. It just depends on how the conversation goes. But truly I want to get to know you because I want to feel comfortable for me that I'm good to take you on as a client. Because there's some people, hey, I don't think we're a good fit. And that's fine. I've been in the business long enough to know when it's not a right fit. And it's okay for me to say, I think there's probably a better agent out there for you. Someone that can serve you better. Anything else on step one? Negative. Awesome. Okay, cool. Step two. Oh, I moved something. Step two is get to know me, right? I want them to get to know me. Why is that important? Anybody? We've talked about it slightly.
I would say that you're trying to build rapport.
I am trying to build rapport. That's exactly right. I'm trying to build rapport. I'm building validation that I'm not just some robot real estate agent, right? I've got personal, I have a family. But inside of step number two, what I'm also doing subconsciously to these guys is I'm setting expectations, right? The goal of a consultation is not just to get a buyer's agency signed. It's to set expectations. It is to develop rapport with them. It's to build out what they're looking for and then to get the agency signed. But if you don't build rapport, if you don't set expectations, you're going to be running left and right, hour here, hour there. I don't really know what I'm trying to look for. I'm just looking for something. Okay, well, we've got to work on this. We need to talk more. We need to build relationships. So literally what I'm talking about in step two is I'm going to tell them who I am. I'm going to say, hey, I'm Austin Stiles. I've been in real estate for 7 years. I own a team here at Keller Williams. Previous to my ownership, I was a lead buyer's agent. This is what I did. I love real estate. I love buyers. People are my passion. Real estate's not my passion, right? Real estate shouldn't be your passion. People should be your passion in this business. Because if you can put people in front of dollars, the dollars will always come. But if you put dollars in front of people, the people won't come back. Does that make sense? This is a relationship and people business. Yes, the dollars will come. Yes, the wealth inside of real estate will come. But if you've forgotten about the person, if you've forgotten about the people you are sitting directly across from, you'll not keep those clients. My goal is to keep our clients for life. So I tell them inside of this, it is, I'm going to be here before the sale. I'm going to be here during the sale, and I'm going to be here after the sale. You call me anytime. My mom jokes all the time. I know, my mom, whatever. My mom jokes all the time. I've got a guy. Be the person that's got a guy. I've got a guy for that. Well, I've got a guy for this. You know, be the resource. Be the resource. Okay, going back into step 2. I'm going to tell them all those things. And then I'm going to say, hey, so I've got a family. I've been married for 7 years, almost nearly 8. I've got 3 little boys at the house, 4, 2, and newborn. Yes, my life is crazy. So if you call me at 8 o'clock, probably not going to pick up because I'm putting one of them down. But if you text me, I'll get back to you as soon as I can, and I'll call you right after. So yes, my time is very, very important that I schedule things out. Last minute works sometimes. And sometimes you may see me with one of my kids or 2 of them. They may be along for the ride. And that, I hope that's okay with you. And I tell them that. Let's see, I'll go that, you know, hey, I've been in Springfield nearly my entire life. I was born and raised here. I went to a small private school here in Springfield, and then I went to College of the Ozarks. You know, people don't really necessarily care about education. I mean, they care about education, but they don't care about, you know, where you went and all that stuff, except for the people who actually care. Then they really want to talk about it. So I bring up New Covenant, where I went from kindergarten through 12th grade, because there's probably some connection. Springfield's a big little town. And then I bring up College of the Ozarks. People love College of the Ozarks. They love to talk about it. Oh my gosh, you went there. Tell me about your experience. I'm getting to know these people. They're getting to know me. I'm validating that I'm a person. I'm a real estate agent who is going to have their back. I tell them, you know, all about my team, and you know, if I'm out, someone will step in my place. And here's how this works. I go through the process of, you know, this is what this means today. We're inside of a consultation. What the consultation is we're just getting to know each other. Once we get to know each other, we're pre-approved, or you have your proof of funds. We're going to build your search, and we're going to go look for homes. Now, again, I'm going to set expectations right here by saying, listen, there's going to be times where you're going to write an offer and you're not going to get it. This is a challenging market as a buyer. I can't help that. But what I can do is I can protect you as best I can inside of that offer. My job is to make sure that the offer is written as cleanly and as powerfully as I can to make sure that you are the winning bid. It's also my job to talk to the other agents and find out as much as I can for you, and you know, to make sure that we are getting everything that the seller wants in that offer. There are particular things that a seller wants. You know, sometimes they need an extended closing and the agent didn't put it out there. Sometimes it's, hey, really, I just need, you know, earnest money. Earnest money is super important. I need that. Okay, cool. We can put earnest money down. Sometimes it's, you know, it's a number of things, but you know, it's asking those questions that people don't always ask the other agent. And I'm telling them all this in step 2, because again, it's all about me and why they should pick me to represent them. And then, I kind of finish out and I say, do you have any questions about me? People always want to know a little bit more. So you ask them questions, open it up. What do you want to know about me? Most times they say, oh, really nothing. I mean, you've told me basically everything I need to know. And then you get the person that's got that has questions, lots of questions about who you are and tell me more about this. The reason I ask that at the end about who I am is I'm also making mental notes of how they're going to react once we're inside of homes and once we're looking for homes. All of these things are, it's a simple psychology, right? I'm asking them questions so that they tell me about them and I can kind of gauge who they are. And then I ask them a question about, do they have any questions for me? And by asking that, the more questions they ask about me is I know they're going to ask that many more questions about a house. So I need to be prepared. I need to make sure that I've got disclosures. I know everything I need to know about that house when we get to that house. So does that make sense? Okay. Step 3 is truly getting to know what they are looking for. Okay. Who's done a buyer consultation?
I have.
Brian, who's that? Brian?
Yeah,
Hey, Brian, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great, man. Are you having a good day?
Sure. Yeah, it's Friday. I got a closing later. That's always good, right?
I'll take that. I'll take that all day. Okay, so tell me inside of this step, what are you going to be asking? What do you inside of your consultation, what are some questions you're going to be asking about what they're looking for?
Well, I mean, just the basics usually. As far as what do you mean? Size, amenities, location. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
that's typically
what are you asking? You're to this point where you know them now. And now you want to know what they're looking for. What are some questions you're going to ask them?
Well, I mean, I usually start by having them kind of define what ideal is. I also have a little worksheet that I usually hand both spouses a copy of, and I like them to fill them out independently, and then we'll find out if they're even on the same page or not. So well, I mean, hey, you laugh, but it's true, man. A lot of times
I
the
get it.
husband and wife have got different opinions, and if they do differ on that, then we're going to talk about that right then and there, because we need to get that focus aligned first and foremost. But I mean, and it's pretty extensive. I mean, it goes from room count to size to age to location to schools to what's most important to you to I don't have one with me, or I just hold it up and show you. But anyway, it's probably 30 or 40 questions, blanks that they fill out. But I mean, that's really it. I'm just trying to get my mind around what they're looking for, and go from there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And David online typed, what's their motivation? That's exactly right. So here's what I want you to know about step number 3 and asking what they are looking for. Everyone's going to do it different. Everyone's going to do a consultation different. Every buyer's agent does it completely different. But there's very specific things that have to be the same. Bedrooms, bathrooms, pretty well square footage, garage, and location. Everyone has to know those 5 things in order to set anyone up on a search. Just the bare bones. So I hit those first. We go into that. I love Brian's idea of giving the spouses 2 different sheets. Where are you guys at? You're not on the same page at all. Let's talk about that. Let's figure out what that needs to look like. So, I find out bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, garage, whether it's 2, 3, 10, 1, and location. I have to figure out all those things. The bare bones. We start with bare bones. Those are the needs. We're going into a needs analysis. Hey, I want a 3-bedroom. I want a minimum 2 bathroom. I want 1,700 square feet. I want at least 2-car garage, 3-car would be great. I want it in South Springfield. And I want it under 200,000. Ha, okay. I don't laugh, but I do laugh sometimes, depending on the conversation. Guys, you gotta have fun. Real estate's fun. So, we go through those. I get the details to that. And then I talk about, okay, so let's talk about the fun stuff. Let's talk about the kitchen. What's important to you guys about the kitchen? And then the wife chimes in and says, I want white cabinets. I want stainless steel appliances. I love gas stoves, gas ranges. Love it. And then I say, okay, great. So let me ask you a question. If a house that was 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 3-car garage came up in your price range in the location which you wanted, but it didn't have a white kitchen, stainless steel appliances, and that island you want, what would be your thoughts? Well, I don't know, probably would pass on it. Okay, great. We're finding thresholds. So let's ask this. What if it had white cabinets, but dated appliances? Oh, well, we can buy those. Okay, great. So appliances is my give. What if it was old cabinets, but new appliances? Would you be willing to replace them or paint them? Yeah. Okay, great. Fantastic. Okay. So I just got to find some sort of a mix between the two or between the three. We're going to talk about, how much are you willing to do to your house? Are you willing to paint, do floors, a remodel, a gut? Let's find out what a threshold is. And inside of that, you're going to find out so much more about what their capabilities are.
Of course, somewhere in there, we've got to have that financing talk, because obviously people think they want a fixer-upper, but then they can't qualify for the right type of financing,
No, you're correct. You're right. That is generally the last thing that I hit, because I want reality to set in. Finance is the last thing I talk about because it's the reality. We can build a big, beautiful picture, but once that 200,000 hits or 250 or whatever, we're going to talk about those things. Okay, so I'm going to pull up the MLS. I'm going to pull up 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-car garages, and I'm going to put in 200,000 and 1,700 square feet. And you know what it's going to pull up? It's going to pull up zero. It's going to pull up zero. And I'm going to let the reality of zero do the heavy lifting. And then I pause. I don't say anything. I let them talk first. When I let them talk first, they then will make their adjustments. I'm not making adjustments for them. They then are going to start their adjustments. Okay, so let's figure out this. Let's figure this out. Okay, I think we could probably really get up to 250. I really do. I don't want to spend that, but obviously there's nothing out there. I could spend 250, and my bank has already told me that I can't. Okay, great. So let's bump it to 250. All right, we've got one. Okay, well, one. What other adjustments can we make? Let's talk about square footage. Why is 1,700 square feet important to you? Well, that's just a nice number that I've always wanted. Okay. Is that the only reason? Well, yeah. Have you ever been inside of a 1,700 square foot house? Well, maybe. I don't know. Possibly. Well, let's just do this. What if we drop it down to 1,500 square feet? Just to see. Oh my gosh, there's 5 houses just popped up. So we went from 0 to 1 to 5 and adjusting 2 things. Not everyone can adjust price like that, but we let silence and the reality of 0 do the heavy lifting, where we went from 0 to 5 pretty quick. So sometimes you have to let people feel the reality of the market before it clicks. especially in a consultation, if you are, you know, saying, you know, it's a really hard time out there, it's, you know, it's pretty challenging, you're gonna write multiple offers, just be prepared for that. You're saying negative after negative after negative, and that is coming from you. It's coming from you, the person. But if you let the facts show it, that is the reality. That's the reality of it. So the reality there is going to do all of your hard work and validate that this guy actually knows what he's talking about. You know, some people will build, you know, like Brian, he's got a list. I personally, I've tried lists. It doesn't work for me. I lose papers. I'm a type B personality. If you come into my office and you look at my desk, currently my office girls put it all together for me. That was very nice for a while I was out because they were tired of looking at my hot mess. But I lose papers. So I transitioned to an iPad, and that's been great for me. And I just go to notes and I write everything down. Twofold to that is I can send these notes wherever I want. And I promise you, I'm not going to lose my iPad like I'd lose paper. So all my notes go on this. It's been pretty great. And business write-off. Hey, we like a good write-off, don't we? Okay, so what other questions are we going to be asking inside of step 3? Motivation. Let's talk about motivation. I don't know where the chat screen just went, but okay. Motivation. Why are you looking to buy a home? Well, I'm in a lease. You know, I've been renting for the past X amount of years. Okay, great. So you've been working on credit and you're getting all yourself established. Yes, fantastic. Kudos to you for being here today. Thank you. I mean, that's awesome. I'm excited to be able to help you. When is your lease up? Well, it's up in September, later this year. But I can break at any point because I've been there for so long. My manager's been great about it. Fantastic. Okay, awesome. Or they say, I'm in it till September, and if I break it, I got to pay, you know, $2,000 to the management company. Okay, I'm going to make a note of that. And if they don't want to move before their lease is up, we're going to talk about when is the right time to buy. The right time to buy, if their lease is up at the end of September, is to start looking at the end of June. If we're going to look at the end of June, you know, closings are going to take anywhere from 30 to 45 days. That gives us a buffer. Plus, if we close in August and they've got a traditional mortgage, not an in-house or portfolio, if you've got an in-house or a traditional mortgage and you close in August, when's your first payment?
September 1st.
September 1. Beautiful. So September 1, you pay for that. No, not September. Not if you close in. Yeah, it's October.
October 1st.
Sorry. You had me going there for a second. Wow, that was good. No, October 1. October 1. So if we close in August, your first payment on a traditional mortgage isn't until October 1. Jeez. So that's good information to know. But if you're on a portfolio or an in-house loan, your payment is generally 30 days after you close. So if going back to the traditional, if we close in August, they're still going to make their payment on their rental in August. They're going to make their payment on their rental in September. And then in October, they're going to stop paying their rent and start paying their mortgage. But if we close in September, their first payment isn't until November. Good. Okay. So that, again, that would give them a month without a payment, which to some people will do a lot. That would allow them to go buy the paint. That would allow them to go buy some materials to get some things fixed on the house that they didn't get asked for or worked through. But it's that buffer zone. So by doing it at the end of June, by starting the searching at the end of June, you've got a month and a half of buffer to really figure things out. That way you're not leaving them homeless.
They can also skip a payment on their sale. Usually you have 30 days. If you go 16 days late, you might have a $50 late fee, but you pretty much can go till the end of the month and not make that payment. And it's just as long as you're not 30 days late.
On the sale, you said?
Correct.
Yeah. So generally you've got a 15-day grace period, and then on the 16th day, you either have some sort of fee, a $50 fee, but they don't report it late until, the end of the month. If you go a full month, then they report to the credit bureau. But yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So motivation, we've hit a lease. Now it's, well, I want to upgrade my house. I want to go to a bigger home. Okay, so you've got a home to sell. Obviously, I would hope that you would know that before you went to a buyer's consultation. But for this instance, you didn't know that you were, working with someone that needed to sell a house to. So the question is, do you need to sell before you buy? Yes, I do. Okay, so let's talk about that. Your motivation is you want to get into a bigger house, but you've got to sell in order to buy. Well, we're going to backtrack. I'm going to say, okay, fantastic. Now we need to figure out what your house is. So we need to figure out a walkthrough. Go on a walkthrough, get the listing, figure out the price, and then set the expectations of, really, we can't go look at anything until your house is signed, until your house has got pictures, until, we are ready to put it on the market. In certain cases, we will go make an offer contingent upon the sale and closing of a house. Does everyone know what that means? I guess I should probably ask that. Does everyone know what contingent on the sale and closing is?
It means I'm probably not getting that house under contract.
Sometimes, Brian, sometimes you do get it. Okay, so Edward says, please explain. Okay, so there's two contingencies. One is a contingency for sale, and one is a contingency for close. If you have not gone to contracts class with Jim or Don, do it. It's great. You'll learn a lot of information. But to put it in a nutshell, a contingency for sale is a buyer making an offer to purchase a house where they still have to put their house that they are currently living in under contract. It's not yet pending. So if you look on the MLS and you see active/contingency, that is a seller who has accepted a contingent upon sale. Does that make sense? Clear as mud? Cool. Okay. A contingency for closing is when you move from, hey, the buyer's current house is active on the market to now it's pending. Now the home they are currently living in is under contract. Once that is under contract, you can take out the contingency for sale and write a contingency for close. Because again, this particular buyer needs to make sure that they have the ability to purchase the house. But they have to sell their house before they can close. So if the buyer's current house does not close, they are not obligated to purchase the house they are trying to buy because they physically can't. So again, What about an active listing for? Hey, sorry. That's a good question, Kay. I'll answer that in a question or in a second. So, again, the contingency for sale doesn't get accepted, to Brian's point, very often, very, very few times. Because, when a seller accepts that, they don't stop showings on their house, but the showings on their house greatly reduce. Golly. Brian, what would you say? Even 2 years ago? It was being accepted pretty well?
Yeah, 2 or 3. We used to do a lot of them, but
I used to write them
it's
all the
just-
time.
Yeah.
I used to write.
But when
I
you
used-
got buyers lined up at the door, it's hard to get them to look at a contingency offer.
Yeah. But again, there is a difference between the two. If you write a contract with the contingency for sale and the seller accepts it, other people have the opportunity to beat you out on that house after the fact. And again, I'll let Don and Jim explain that better. A contingency for closing, if a seller accepts that, at that point, that house that buyer is trying to purchase is now under contract. Okay, so Kay asks, what about an active listing for a seller contingent on them finding a home? Is there a document for that? There's not a document for that, unfortunately. That's a pretty new concept. I want to say that I've only been putting those out there for about 1.5 years. There may have been some people that have done that previously to that, but for my team and I, we've only been doing that maybe 1.5 years. But what that looks like is we're just putting that in agent-only remarks to state that any offer to come in needs to be contingent upon the seller finding a home within a designated amount of time, and that all due diligence periods begin with written notice from seller to buyer that we have found and successfully secured a home. But if you are the buyer on that house, you're in limbo. But in this market, the buyer who can be the most flexible in those situations are the buyers who are going to win more offers. The agent that asks those questions, it's going back to that question of, I am going to talk to each agent that we present an offer to and find out what is important to your seller. And in this case, it's, hey, they've got to find a house. That's fantastic. I'm in a lease until September. I got plenty of time. As long as you find a house in the next 15, 20, 30 days, whatever period we put on there, I'm ready to roll. I'm good. But I want the caveat as the buyer, I want the caveat that I can remove myself from that contract until the day they give me written notice that they have secured a house. Does that make sense to everybody? Kay, does that answer your question? Yes, perfect, fantastic. What other questions do people have about step 3? Or just in general about the buy side? And I'll hit step 4 in just a second. Garrett, you're here. You get questions?
Nothing I can think of right now.
Good.
You hit a lot of everything that I did have questions about.
Okay. As a buyer's agent, your role is to educate. Your role is to provide as much knowledge to a buyer as they want. And that's important, as much as they want. Sometimes you can over communicate. Sometimes you can under communicate. Again, that's why it's important in those first 2 steps to find out their communication style. The person that asks a lot of questions, I'm going to feed them as much information about a house. I'm going to teach them about a gas furnace. I'm going to teach them about a water heater. I'm going to teach them all these things. Education, you become education based, and that's important. Now, When you're first starting your career, you're not gonna know these things. What I will encourage you to do is to go shadow inspectors. Give them a call. Just say, hey, listen, I don't wanna be in your way. I don't wanna bother you. I just wanna watch. And if you just wanna say something, you know, if you wanna teach me one thing while I'm there, that'd be great. Or come to me, ask me questions. Hey, I've got this inspection report. What's this mean? I'm an open book. You're in the Keller Williams family. Congratulations, welcome. We're here to help. It doesn't matter who you are. You ask a question, more than likely you're gonna get an answer. Okay, so moving on to step 4. Step 4 is hiring me. Now, step 4 is critical. It's very important. It's ink on paper. It's getting that buyer to sign a buyer's agency. That's very important, isn't it? Why is it important? That's a general question. Give me 2 reasons why it's important.
You can't get paid if you don't have a contract.
That is correct. 100% every time. What else?
Doesn't let them work with anybody else.
It doesn't let them work with anybody else. Oh, that's a good one. That's
Yeah,
a
you
really,
have their commitment that they're gonna work with you and not wander off and work with 2 or 3 other agents.
we got it. That's exactly right. So the purpose to buyer's agency, I mean, there's so many reasons. It's, again, gonna go over expectations. It is going to lock them down as your client. It is going to solidify that when you go to write an offer, you have the ability to represent them and write the offer. And when you close, you're gonna get paid because you do represent them. Lastly, it's gonna be a loyalty. It's loyalty. You know, they're asking me to go spend my time to search for homes. Well, if you're gonna ask me to be loyal to you and finding you the right house, I need your loyalty back. I need you to sign something and agree that we're gonna exclusively work together. So, here's what's very important to do with buyer's agency. Pull out your Missouri broker disclosure form and your exclusive right to purchase agreement. Those 2 documents are incredibly important for you to know. Know them forwards and know them backwards. Know them right side up and upside down. My biggest trick inside of agency is turning agency around and reading it to them upside down. Now, do I read them line by line? I do not read them line by line. What I have done is I've memorized key points to agency. And I'm gonna bullet point each section because, again, I'm education based. I want them to know as much as they need to know. And in this case, it's important that they do know as much as they can. So I physically rotate it. I sit across from them and I grab a pen or my little stylus and I point. This is this. You know, this is saying that you're going to hire Keller Williams to represent you for 180 days. We take 180-day contracts. This states that you allow me to represent you as your buyer's limited agent, saying that starting today when you sign, I'm going to represent you and have your best interests in mind. It also talks about dual agency.
I've got a question for you. How long in this market right now would you go Fargo out on a listing agreement and or a buyer's agency? It would be, 30, 60 days. Because I know once you have the contract, you have that buyer's agency until it closes, right? Or seller's agency.
Yeah, once you have a contract, you're good on agency, but I put everything at 180 days. My listing agreements, yep, my listing agreements and my buyer's agency agreements, they're all 180 days, unless it's a particular client, you know, like, we had a big listing out in Mount Vernon. We took a year listing on that because we expected it to take longer and the seller expected it to take longer. My investor clients, man, I sign them as long as they're good. Hey man, how long do you want to sign this thing for? 2 years? Awesome, fantastic. Guess what? I don't have to have that thing signed again for 2 years.
Yeah, no, I understand that part of it. Well, back whenever I used to sell real estate, it was usually, about 120 to 180 days on that. But you close in 30 days, you have something within a month done, but it just gives you that extra little amount of time. Because I know I've had listings back then, it's like, I want to list for 30 days. That's all, and then by the time you get the marketing, you tell them, it's like, by the time I get the marketing out there and spend the time and the money to market your house, your listing's going to be expired. I'd rather do 2 or 3 months or 3 months minimum on it, but that was back in a tougher market, so. All right, that answered my question.
Yeah. So, agency again, you're going to really impress somebody by turning that thing upside down, letting them read through it as you go along and do bullet points. I think my favorite paragraph in that entire buyer's agency agreement, there's one specific paragraph, and it is probably the funniest paragraph that I don't know why it's in there, basically. It is the buyer's obligations to realtor. Your obligations to me. And inside that, I think it's bullet point 3. Bullet point 3 is to be available during the realtor's regular working hours. And I'm not kidding, I crack a joke with them right there. And I say, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know what my regular working hours are. We're here at my office at 6:30 at night. So basically, whenever you're available, as long as I'm free, let's go see a house. I mean, the fact that a lawyer, our MREC, our contracts department, put that in there, it's pretty good. I appreciate that. Gives me giggles. Okay, and then at the end, what's the last question you're asking these people at the end of the consultation? Anybody? I'm good with awkward silence.
Yeah. Are we ready to move forward, or do you have any
Ready
questions?
to go.
Do you want to hire me? And generally they say yes. And I say, great, because otherwise we just wasted an hour of your time. So last question, obviously, do you want to hire me? And then we get signatures right thereafter. We build their search with them right there. They see it, I see it, it's sent to them. I set it up on 2 different websites. I set it up on Flex, and then I set it up on my personal website. That way they can modify as they please. And then it's time to figure out when they're going to start looking for homes. So questions, what questions do you guys have?
Is that what you say verbatim? I didn't know, and I know we don't spin things our own way, but can I be your real estate agent? Or I don't know, it sounds like a close.
It is a close. It absolutely is a close. It's a fun close. It's a fun close because verbatim I say, okay, so do you want to hire me? I mean, it is as plain and as simple as that. Now, I will say it very much depends on the personality type. If I've got a very strong D personality sitting across from me, that conversation looks very different. More than likely, they're gonna wanna read through it line by line. So what I'm gonna do with that particular person is I'm gonna send it home with them. I'm gonna say, I've gone over the bullet points, and when you go home tonight and you read through it, you'll see that everything I just went over with you is exactly what's on that. But if you have questions on it, I'm an open book. I'm happy to explain. I'll answer any question you have. Or if you want to go through it right now, bring it on. Josh, did that answer your question?
It does, yeah. That makes sense. Play to your audience for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, in this industry, you have to mirror and match. Oh, I signed out. Am I still there for you guys?
Still here.
Okay, it says on my screen I've signed out. Okay, but yes, so I mirror and match. If you're gonna work on anything in the beginning of your career, work on mirroring and matching who you're sitting across from, who your clients are. That's only gonna further your career. What else? What other questions?
I guess I have a question about that last example specifically. If you do get a high D there and you send the paperwork home with them, what does your follow-up process look like as far as that goes?
Yeah, so it's setting an expectation. Hey, I'm gonna send this home with you tonight, and I'm gonna follow up with you at 10 in the morning.
Okay.
Or if you have questions before 10, let me know, and I'll answer them. But as soon as you're ready, I'll send it to you electronically, and you can sign it.
Hmm.
And then once you are signed, then I'll send your search to you. I'm not gonna do any work until it's signed. Generally. What else? What other questions you guys have?
So Nathan here, I have a couple questions for you, just to piggyback on what you just said. Say you get a lead and you meet someone at an open house, or you get a lead from some other source. Are you still requiring them to meet with you and all of that before you're willing to set them up on a property search or move forward? How do you handle that?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Nathan. It really, it depends. Everything's gonna be very fluid. I try and be as fluid as I can. But I also don't want to work myself to death and not have anything signed. So I generally give people about 1 to 3 homes. Now, 1 to 3 homes in this market is, so many. So that's like 2 weeks it could be. So, in years past, I've given 3 homes. Right now, I'll show 1 house. I'll gauge the interaction in which we've had. And then at that point, I will, excuse me, ask them to sit down for a consultation. Yes, I've gotten to know them a little bit here and there, but it is important to me to go through my process, because once we get outside of our process, that's when problems start to come up. You've got to establish a process that works for you, that works through and through. And that's whether that's creating, a presentation, or whether that is creating, just a Word document that you're going to go through and write out. You've got to go through a process, because we're a process-driven industry. Does that answer your question, Nathan?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Yeah. And then I guess the other part is sometimes, yes, I will set someone up on a search that is just kind of curious, because that sometimes is my hook. I have Taylor's on my team, Taylor Johnson, and we were talking about a client, or a potential client. Gosh, two or three, I don't know. I have a newborn at home. I can't remember time. Sometime we were talking about a client sometime, and he's like, he told me he doesn't want to sign anything with an agent. He doesn't really want to work with anyone. He just wants to call off the sign. And I said, okay. Why aren't you setting him up on a search, providing him resources? He says, well, I don't want to waste my time. I go, what's he looking for? He said, well, really anything under 200 in, the surrounding areas. I say, okay, great. you've got his phone number, go get his email, set him up under 200 and just say, hey, listen, I'm gonna send you homes. If one happens to be one that you like, call me. I'll be happy to go show it to you. You got to find your foot in the door sometimes. So you set it up super, super broad and you're going to flood his email with a few things. But it's when that one clicks, he's going to say, Taylor sent me that house. I'm going to call him. What else? What other questions?
Any particular way that you take on difficult requests? I guess not necessarily like sometimes on price, but I don't know. I'm a mid-century guy. I know sometimes people are specifically looking for homes like that. Like, is there anything that you think about differently when somebody has an extremely particular thing they're looking for?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So let's go with mid-century. Okay, so you're looking for mid-century. Define mid-century to me.
Well, a lot of those homes are in Southern Hills, but very low pitch roof. A lot of times glass goes to the roof, usually built somewhere between 1950 and 1970. A lot of times there's architects and blueprints that came with the house.
Okay, so what I hear you saying inside of that mid-century is you're looking for some historical facts inside of that, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we're going to be very particular in looking at a very niche market. I'm going to be honest with you. Inside of that, it's going to take us some time. So as long as you're okay to be patient with me in finding you something, I'm going to be okay to be patient with you. How does that sound?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so here's what I'm going to go do. I know a lot of agents that work that area. I'm going to go call them. I'm going to see what they have coming up. If they don't have anything coming up, and if you see something, so I'm going to do two things. Let me backtrack. I'm going to call them. If they don't have anything coming up, I'm going to go door knock. I'm going to go cold call, and I'm going to send letters to homes in those areas that may fit your other criteria. And if that leads to nothing, what I'm also going to ask you to do is drive the neighborhood. Give me an address. You say, I like 123 Main Street. It's exactly the exterior that I'm looking for. Okay, fantastic. Give me that address, text it to me. I'll go find them. I'll knock on their door. I'll call them. I'll send them a letter, whatever I need to do to get in front of them to find out if they are willing to sell. How does that sound?
Sounds like a good selling point. I like it.
What else?
Are you opening to any questions about buyer presentations, or we just wanting to talk about the 4 steps here?
Anything at all. What questions you got about buyers?
All right, so let me just say I started in November, so I'm
Who is
still
this? I'm
wet
sorry.
behind the ears. This is Nathan.
Okay, Nathan.
Started in November, so still figuring everything out. I had one buyer that basically wanted to go see, they're out of state, they're moving here. She was in town. She wanted to go look at 5 houses one day, 3 houses the next day. Like, give me some talking points on how you start narrowing down why we're going to look at, and it was it was everything from 5 acres to half acre and just like everywhere. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I gotta like tone her down here. So we're looking at a couple houses, not 10 houses. So talk through that with me.
Well, number one, the fact that you have 10 houses to look at is great, but you're too broad.
Right, of course.
Is what I'm hearing, correct? You're too broad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so did you meet her face to face or was it purely over the phone?
So I met her at an open house. They were in town, and then I just kept up communication with them. And then when they're ready to move here, then they're seriously looking at houses. And we're under contract now, so I mean, it all worked out fine. But it would have been great to, kind of have some verbiage in my head to get them to want to look at 3 houses, not 13.
Yeah. No, sure. So I think, where you've got to start, Nathan, is you've got to start narrowing down, being curious as to why we're looking at so many, or why we've got so many different, half acre here, 5 acres here, we're in Buffalo and we're in Kimberling City. Let's start to narrow. When you start to narrow, you're going to ask questions like, okay, so I understand that we're looking at these, this home way up north and this home way down south. Is there a particular reason why you're so broad? Is there a particular reason why, we're all over the place? I know you're coming from out of state, so can I help you can I help educate you on areas? Tell me, that's when you go back to their who they are, what are their interests? What do they like? What do they like to do? Is there a reason they're going from Buffalo to Kimberling City? Well, they want to be close to trails or close to water or whatever. So is there a specific script that I can give you off the top of my head to help you narrow? I can't currently. Let me think about it. I think that's the best answer I can give right now. I'm sorry.
Okay, and so the wife in this scenario was a very strong dominant personality, which is fine. I do a good job of mirroring people. I've been in sales for a long time, so I can rein that in. But had I asked her that question that you just proposed, her answer would be, I just like those houses. I want to go see them.
Great. How far away were they coming from?
They're moving here from Texas. So, they're obviously not familiar with the area, but as far as the houses that we looked at, they were all north of Springfield. Their criteria was to live within 30 minutes of Pleasant Hope, which is where the husband is going to be or is working. So, that's a pretty wide swath everywhere from Bolivar, to Stratford and Willard and, all over the place. So,
Yeah.
And granted, once we'd looked at, 8 houses, this search I started narrowing down about what they didn't like about this house. Okay, well, you didn't like that house because it was on half an acre. So what I'm really feeling is you guys want at least 2 acres of land, for example.
That's great.
And then that started narrowing it down over time. So, I was able to do it, but just that initial puking, here's, 8 houses that I want to go look at just seemed a little overwhelming and,
Yeah, so what you could go inside and into on that, Nathan, is gonna be, okay, so let's talk about these 8 homes. Let's figure out what are your top 3, right? Because here's what's gonna be important about this market, is if we go try and look at all 8, there's a potential that we're gonna miss out on one of them. That we're gonna go look at all 8 and we're not gonna have time to make an offer because things are moving so quick. So if we go look at all 8 and we spend 2 or 3 days looking at all 8 because they're spread out, there's a chance that one of the homes is gonna go under contract either before we get to see all 8 or before we get to see it at all. So what I'd like to see is there 3 or 4 that we could narrow down to and say of our sample of our 8 homes, these 3 right here are the best. And here's why. So let's talk about them. Let's look at 123 Main Street. All right. What are two or three things that you really like about 123 Main Street? And she says, I like that it's on a little bit of land. I like that the size is right and the price is right. Okay, great. We've got a threshold. Size, land, price. Fantastic. We move to 124 Main Street. I'm very original, obviously, Main Street. Do you know where I'm going with that, Nathan? Does that help? In going in with a strong personality and just saying, listen, if we go spend all this time, there is a chance that you may miss the right one.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. The way it played out was we looked at 3 houses on Sunday, and then there were 5 houses they wanted to look at on Monday. So yeah, but I agree with you in principle completely. And obviously, the more experience I have, the more I'll feel confident helping rein someone in. So
Yeah. Again, in this market, to have 8 homes is great. I understand the miles on the car. I can tell you that I've showed 13 homes in a day to the same client who was in from out of state probably 4 years ago. And that was, I probably put 200 miles on my car that day. But we had more homes to look at in that period. And there were legitimate reasons to each home. So there was no way to narrow down at that point.
yeah, I got you.
What else
Thank
you
you.
got? Hey, you're welcome. What else? I don't know, what was my time? 11:15? What time is it supposed to be done? Whenever? I mean, I'm whatever. So, what are some ahas that you guys have? Anything? What'd you learn today? It's okay to say nothing. You're the worst, Austin. I get it. It's fine. That hurts my feelings, I guess.
I like that narrow down the searches to 2 or 3 because you will lose out on, if you're showing them 5 or 10 houses while they're in town, you're gonna miss out on the ones that they really need to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna miss those whenever you're out. I don't like this expression when I say out farting around with the ones that aren't in their criteria. You have to keep them focused on their objective and that what they're in the market for.
Yeah.
Because we're not in this it's not a hobby, it's a living.
Yeah, that's exactly right. This is our way to make an income.
The mistake I made before, of course, the market was the greatest back in 2008, 2009, is there was plentiful inventory out there. And by the time it was down to make a decision, they've all blended together, or I don't remember that one. And it was the second or third house that I showed them is the one they usually went back and ended up buying because, and they forgot about it. And you got to keep them focused and keep them narrowed down you got to keep that leash on, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah. No,
I
absolutely.
liked what you put in their parameters and it comes up with a big fat 0 and you don't really have to say anything. I think that's really well played.
Yeah, let the facts do the heavy lifting. 100%.
Yeah, that's the same one I thought was great as well. It was very helpful.
Yeah, awesome. Well, good. Anything else? Any other questions? Nothing at all. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to give you guys my cell phone and my email. If you guys ever have questions or need help with anything, feel free to call me, text me, or email me. I am more than willing to help. And just like I say in my consultation, if you call me at night, there is a chance that I'm putting a baby to bed. Probably won't pick up, but I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Guys, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. This has been great. This has been fun. I hope you guys took away some valuable nuggets. Seriously, if there's anything ever you guys need, just give me a holler, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks, great
See you
job.
guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. That was awesome. I got a lot of good notes.
Good. Good. Okay. Yeah, I'm not into this creating presentation stuff.
Did you ever experiment with that as far as like actual presentations on a screen in like a buyer's consult?
Yeah. Just, it wasn't my forte. Just never, it just never worked.
So one thing I meant to ask earlier, when you're in the consultation, so you bring just like a folder with the broker's disclosure form